guys, welcome to our June compilation video. This is the video for the newbies that we talk about all of the releases we expect for a given month, and this is June of 2016. Revell came out with their release slate this morning, so we are good to go on the first day of the month for a change with the kit announcements here. We have kits coming out of all three of the big three domestic, as well as four of the Japanese manufacturers, so good kits coming out, and a lot of the stuff really is good kits as far as I'm concerned. Starting on the domestic side of things, so the foreign haters can tap out early. Mobius, we are expecting the 1972 Ford Custom pickup truck to come out. This will, of course, be the next variant of the long bed pickup. This will be two-wheel drive still. Sorry, guys, not the four-wheel drive you're looking for as of yet. I've seen some rumblings. I don't know how truthful it is that this is going to have a different engine in it than the previous long beds. We'll, wait until we get some different confirmation on that. They're talking about having a 302 rather than a 390. I don't believe a lot of the rumblings on the internet as far as Mobius stuff goes, unless it's coming from Mobius people directly. There's a lot of people who think they're inside with Mobius that have, end up not being. So I reserve all judgment until I hear things from Dave Metzner or other people related to the company. Round two is going to be doing 3 AMTs and 1 Polar Lights. The Polar Lights is going to be a reissue of the Volkswagen Beetle Snap-Tight kit that they've done several times with various superhero tie-ins. This time it's going to be tied into Harley Quinn, the anti-hero, if you will, from Batman comics. Was the Joker's girlfriend, quote unquote. Probably made more popular by anything else by the Batman animated comic TV show, comic strip TV show that was on in the 90s. Of course, it's going to be in Suicide Girls and the new movie that's coming out. Not a big, comic book fan, or comic book fan in general, or comic book movie kind of guy, although Deadpool was rather entertaining. So I can't, I'm not going to go into the whole, backstory or anything else like that, other than, it's apparently good enough that Kevin Smith named his daughter after her. But this will be, like I said, the same kit, just molded in red with different decals. It'll still have all the parts that the kit has always come with in terms of the optional wheels and tires and things like that. Over at AMT, they're going to be releasing the 29 Ford Mod Rod. This, of course, is for people who are really old. The basis of the original a la carte kit. Those parts, or all of those parts, I should say, are not in this kit. There's much grinding and gnashing of teeth about that. However, you do still get 2 entire model kits in this. You'll be able to build a stock 29 Ford, more or less. There'll be, of course, optional parts to turn that into, anything from a stock 29 Ford to like a fenderless hot rod. They've retooled the 4-cylinder racing parts that have been missing for a while. They've also retooled a bunch of the custom parts and opened the gates on the model kits. So it'll have more of the a la carte tooling that it's had in the past, but it's still not going to have all of the a la carte tooling. You're still not going to be able to build the original a la carte. I know there's a lot of people who are, don't like the new tool one that AMT Ertl did. I really couldn't care one way or the other because it's a show rod, and that's just not what I'm into. But be aware of that. This is going to come out in 2 different boxings. The original Art Series is going to be molded in white. It's going to be in the great big box like the 65 Grand Prix just came out in. And there's going to be a regular box kit that's going to be molded in yellow pearl. They're going to include new tires. They're going to have some Firestone pie crust slicks in there that were not in the original one. More or less, other than the retooling of parts to make the racing parts for the 4-cylinder engine and a lot of the custom parts that go to the mod rod, as well as the sort of stock 29 Ford, if you will. This is more or less the same kit that's always come out, has been reissued dozens of times, mainly as a stock vehicle without all of the parts in there to make a second one. But you do get 2 entire cars out of that. They're going to reissue the Sunbeam Tiger, the little. I don't know, is that a British sports car? I really should look that up. But probably more popularized by the Sunbeam Alpine that Maxwell Smart had in Get Smart, but that's not the same car. That's actually a different one. The Sunbeam Tiger is getting new box art that doesn't correspond to anything because it never had box art like it has. It's a pretty cool box art. I will give AMT that. It's a 2-in-1 kit. You can build it stock, or you can build a road racing version out of it with like fender flares and sort of a buttress Targa style roof. And they're going to include new racing decals with it. And then they're also going to be reissuing Tyrone Malone's Super Boss. And this is a Kenworth drag truck, like a semi-sized drag truck. This is the first time this thing's been available in probably close to 40 years. So it's another one of those kits, what I think Round 2 should really focus its time and effort on rather than reissuing the same thing 8 gajillion times like they have been doing recently. This is nice to see back for a lot of the semi guys are very excited about it because it has a engine in it that's very desirable. They're going to tool up some new tires, some Bandags pad printed drag tires like the original real 1-1 drag truck had that the kit never did. They're also going to be doing a completely new decal sheet for it, cartograph decals, of course, is way more comprehensive than the original kit's decals were. So that's kind of cool, for the truck guys. I personally am much more looking forward to the hauler. There was a separate kit made of a semi-size. Think of like the Ford Louisville car hauler that came out not that long ago. Well, I should probably been 2-3 years now since they reissued that. There was a Kenworth cab-over hauler they made to haul the drag truck. It's the real life, combination, and they will be reissuing that at some point in the fall or maybe closer to winter, depending. And that's what I'm kind of more looking forward to the hauler than I don't care about the drag truck. Sorry. Over at Revell, they're going to make their second quarter quota. As it turns out, they're going to be basically sort of new kits and 2 modified reissues that are new enough to be noteworthy. The 2 newish kits are, of course, the Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the Jimmy Johnson Chevy SS NASCAR kits. I say new-ish because when the Ford Fusion kits came out, they ended up having basically the last-gen Ford Taurus chassis underneath of them. These will more than likely have the last gen Impala or whatever it was that I'm trying to think what the last kits that Revell made as far as NASCAR on the GM side of things, when I think it was an Impala, right? Sorry, NASCAR to me sort of, I'm one of those guys that NASCAR sort of faded away when Dale Earnhardt died, and I really didn't pay attention to the model kits in the early 2000s because I was sort of in that span of life where models weren't very much in the forefront. So I'm thinking Impala was the last thing that GM did as far as Revell kits go. More than likely it'll have a version of that chassis with a brand new body on it. And from what I've understood from people who have built them, the Ford Fusion, the main thing about it is the body is mostly correct. So from the standpoint of it being a snap-tight and a curbside, and there is a sort of an engine in there, but it's not a full detail kit or by any stretch of the imagination. The body's what you want it to look right. So those kits will be pre-painted with decals. More than likely you're going to want to go out and get the actual water slide decals for it. And much like the Ford Fusions, they'll be sort of pre-painted to the color scheme of the car rather than, so that you won't have to two-tone anything and you just put the decals on. Also coming out this month, of course, are the 30 Ford Hot Rod, the next version of the 29 Ford Hot Rod tooling. This is going to be the chopped roofed version, if you will. Going to have a small block Chevy in there with 2 different inductions. Going to have a bomber style interior as well as regular interior. Much like the 29 Ford, it's going to be just a box of parts and of high boy and a low boy and all the stuff that chassis wise that came with the 29 is going to be in the 30. Except of course, like I said, it's going to have a roof on this and it has a small block Chevy in it. I know that makes a lot of Ford purists upset, but, deal with it. It is a cool, to me, and I'm not a, hot rod guy in the sense of I don't really build cars from that era. I bought the 29 and I'll buy this 30 too. And then the last one they're going to be doing, it's a modified reissue, is a 48 Ford. This will, I'm looking up at mine, will be the coupe standard roof, if you will, coupe. That's of course shares its tooling with the convertible and the Woody and the pre-chopped for your inconvenience sort of street rod that they did. I personally said a long time ago that a stock-ish, if not a completely stock 48 Ford would have been the way to go with that kit, just because not everybody wants to chop their roof the same height and it's obviously a great deal harder to unchop a pre-chopped roof than it is to chop an unchopped roof. So finally, after many years, it's probably been 6 or 7 years since the hot rod, the pre-chopped the Ford came out. They're finally doing a stock roof, and we've talked about it before when the kit was announced when we did their second quarter releases way back in the spring. That to me, the body looks like it was tooled up back then, and they've just sort of been sitting on it. So that'll cover your domestic side of things. Over on the international side of things, Fujimi's doing 4 reissues for the month of June. 2 of them are 1/20th scale F1 cars. They are the Ferrari 150 Italy Grand Prix and the Ferrari F138 China Grand Prix. They're also doing a reissue of the Porsche 911 Carrera 2 and Carrera 4. They're going to be boxing those 2 kits together for the first time. And they're going to be reissuing the Toyota Crown 200 Turbo S110. That's like a early 1980s Toyota Crown. No, it's not going to float everybody's boat in the sense of being a kit that a lot of people are going to want, in the United States at least. But it's been a long, long time since that kit's been reissued. And while it is a motorized kit and pretty basic, again, it's a long time since the kit's been reissued. And it was, the body and all that stuff looks, is pretty good. The rest of it, but it is what it is. Hasegawa is going to give you that last version of the Nissan Sunny pickup truck, the GB122, the one that represents the last-gen Sunny, the one they started building in the mid-1980s. Tamiya, of course, you get your Ferrari FXXK and all of its accessories this month. Of course, we've talked about it before, the kit is available in Canada and the United States and probably several other places if you wish to pay the upcharge at your hobby shop, because while Tamiya USA has priced the kit at an MSRP of $75, which is much less than I thought it was going to be, that's still like $30 too much as far as the price goes. It's even probably still $18 too much when you figure in shipping. If you figure in the photo etch and the carbon fiber decals on top of the kit, that's going to run you $52, and it's going to cost you about $10 to ship it. So $68 for everything, or $75 plus whatever your hobby shop's going to charge on top of it, $77, $78, $82, whatever it's going to wind up being, and you won't have the photo etch or the carbon fiber. I am a person who very much believes in supporting your local hobby shop. Don't get me wrong, I know we talk about HobbyLink Japan here a lot, and eBay and Hobby Search and whatnot. I buy my domestic kits at my local hobby shop. I buy my Revell of Germany kits because he gets a really good price on those at my local hobby shop. Paint, supplies, things like that. Unfortunately, I'm not here to keep Stevens International or Squadron or whoever else middleman markups, Tamiya USA even, in business. That's not my job. Sorry, that's just not. I can buy it from Japan way cheaper, and I'll support my local hobby shop on the other end with the domestic stuff. And then last but not least here, a big long list. I mean, and seriously, it's a big long list of reissues from Aoshima. They're going to be doing, let's see here, I'm going to try to get this in sections so that I'm not separating myself here. They're going to be reissuing all 3 Back to the Future kits again. They're going to be reissuing the Aventador Roadster again, reissuing the TE71 Toyota Corolla Early Edition, the Mazda Roadster MX-5 NB. That's the 2nd gen kit. Now, we talked about this when this kit was announced for reissue, that they did do a Miata version for the US spec. If you want to have all 3 gens of the Miata, this is the only way to get a 2nd gen Miata. However, this is not going to be a Miata. It's only going to be what they call a Mazda Roadster RS, which is the JDM version. So there's no left-hand drive. There's no Mazda Miata logos. You have to go do some digging on eBay or at shows or hobby shops that carry vintage Japanese model kits, because think about how old the 2nd gen Mazda Roadster is at this point. I should go stop that dryer. But think about how old that kit is. It's from the mid-'90s, so it's getting to be vintage. It's 20 years old. They'll be reissuing the top secret S15 and the Nissan Silvia and the top secret Nissan Skyline R34. In the Cebu Kitsatsu series, they're going to be reissuing basically all of the model kits in that series: the Machine RS1, RS2, RS3, Machine X, which of course is the Gullwing Fairlady, and the Nissan Safari with tank car sort of fire truck thing in the model car. Now, we talked about this just in the last Friday show about this new series of kits. You guys got to see some of the first box art on that. The model car this month, you're going to get reissues in this series of the 2010 Toyota Hiace, the 1996 Mazda RX-7 FD3X Ifani Type 4, the Nissan Skyline R34 GTR V-Spec 2, and the A86 Toyota Truno Sprinter GT Apex with engine. This, of course, is going to be another way to get the Toyota Truno with an engine in it, because right now the only way to get a Toyota Truno with an engine in it is to buy the initial D series. Now, this GT Apex is also the late edition of the Toyota Truno, so this is going to be the later 80s version, where the Toyota Truno that comes in the initial D series kit is like an 83, I think, or an 85. This will be like an 88 or so. And then lastly, didn't mean to hit the mic. Lastly, in the tuned car series, you're going to get a reissue of the 2010 Toyota Hiace boxy style VIP van and the Road Jam Toyota Crown Athlete. And that'll be the most recent Road Jam kit based off the 2012 Toyota Crown Athlete tooling. So that, guys, is what we should expect in the month of June, and we'll see you guys on the other side.